Welcome to Into the Dusk. Tonight's story is for anyone carrying something into sleep. A difficult conversation, a moment that feels bigger than you'd like. Something waiting at first light that you haven't quite made peace with yet. Sleep is where the mind does its most honest work. When we rest well, we arrive at hard things clearer and steadier than we thought we could. This story is designed to help with that, to let your nervous system settle and your mind find its footing before morning comes. By the time you wake, you'll be more ready than you feel right now. So relax and let the story take you on a journey to ease your mind. Tomorrow holds something difficult, and your whole body already knows it. You can feel it there, not quite in any one place, but everywhere at once. A low and persistent weight that has been with you all evening, following you through the ordinary things, the washing up, the locking of doors, the lying down, until here you are in the dark with the house gone quiet around you and the things still there, unchanged, patient, waiting on the other side of a night that suddenly feels very long. Your mind has been doing what minds do on nights like this, turning the thing over and over, running through how it might go, what you might say, what might be said to you, trying to find the version where it goes well and staying there for a little while before doubt moves it aside and the whole turning begins again. And underneath all of that, there is something simpler and more honest than any of the rehearsals, a tiredness, a wish that you were already on the other side of it, a very human longing to simply be done with the not knowing and into the knowing, however the knowing turns out. What makes tonight hard is not only the thing itself, but the waiting, the distance between now and when you will finally know. And the mind cannot rest easily in that distance, because it was not built for waiting. It was built for solving. And this is the one thing it cannot solve tonight, no matter how many times it goes over it. And so it keeps going over it anyway, because that is what it knows how to do. And you lie here, caught between the mind that will not stop and the body that is desperate for rest, and the night that simply continues on at its own unhurried pace, indifferent to the weight of what you are carrying through it. But here is something true, and it is worth holding on to in this particular dark. You have been in the night before, something hard before, and the morning came, and you went to meet whatever was in it, and you were not alone in it, even when it felt that way. And something in you that is older and quieter than the worrying part already knows that this will also be true of tomorrow, that you will find in yourself what is needed when the time comes to find it, not before, because that is not how courage works. It does not arrive early to settle your nerves. It arrives precisely when it is needed, and not a moment sooner. And trusting that is perhaps the only honest work of a night like this. What you need right now has nothing to do with more preparing, or more thinking, or finding the perfect version of what tomorrow holds. You have done what could be done, and the rest is not yours to carry tonight. And so for these few hours, these quiet hours that belong entirely to you and to no one else, we are going to set it down. Not because it doesn't matter, it matters a great deal, but because you matter too, and you need rest. And the rest you take tonight is not a turning away from what is hard, but a gathering of yourself before you go to meet it. The way the earth gathers itself in the dark before the morning, quietly and without fuss, simply becoming ready. There's a place I want to take you, not far from here in the way that matters. A place where the air is old, and the quiet is the kind that has been undisturbed for a very long time, where the ground holds you without asking anything of you in return, and the dark is not the anxious dark of a sleepless room, but the soft and ancient dark of the world at rest. And if you will come with me there, and let the words carry you the way a current carries something placed gently upon the water, then by the time we arrive, I think you will find that the thing waiting for you in the morning has not grown any smaller, but you will have grown a little larger, a little steadier, a little more like the person who is able to meet it, which is all that any of us can do on the night before something hard. The night outside is quieter than you expect, and there is something in that quiet that feels like an offering, as though the world has drawn back a little to give you room. And the air, when you step into it, is cool and clean, carrying that particular freshness that belongs to the late hours when the day is finally finished with itself and the earth breathes out. And you feel it first on your face and then in your chest, a small and genuine easing, the way a tight thing loosens slightly when given a little more space to be in. And you stand at the edge of the path for a moment, just long enough to feel the ground solid beneath you and the sky open above you. And then you begin to walk. The path leads away from the lights, away from the sound of the road, into the older dark of the fields and hedgerows, where the night has a different quality, softer and more inhabited, full of the small, unhurried lives of things that have no knowledge of tomorrow's difficulty and no interest in it either. And there is something quietly freeing in that, to be moving through a world that is entirely absorbed in its own present moment. The owl in the high elm attending to nothing but the field below. The fox somewhere in the long grass doing what foxes do in the small hours, each thing fully in its own life and unbothered by the weight you arrived with. And the weight as you walk begins very slightly to shift, not to disappear but to distribute itself differently, as though the moving of the body is doing something the staying still could not. You notice your breathing has changed without your asking it to, slower and deeper than it was in the room, and the thoughts are still there. You would not expect them to be gone. They're loyal, if nothing else. But they are moving differently now, less the tight and urgent circling of a mind pressed against a wall, and more the way thoughts move when they have been given room, drifting rather than driving, arriving and passing rather than arriving and staying. And between them, there are gaps that were not there before. Small openings of simple sensation, the feel of the path beneath your feet, the smell of the night air, the distant sound of water moving somewhere ahead through the dark. And in those gaps there is something that is not quite peace yet, but is at least the memory of peace, the knowledge that it exists, that you have been in it before and are capable of being in it again. The path descends gently into a valley, and the air here is cooler still, gathering in the low ground the way cold air does, and the trees on either side grow taller and closer together, their canopies meeting overhead in a long, dark arch, and walking beneath them is like walking through something ancient and considered, as though the trees arrange themselves this way with some purpose, not for you specifically, but for anyone who has ever needed a way through the dark that felt held rather than exposed. And you are held here. That is the honest word for it. Held by the closeness of the trunks on either side, and the canopy above, and the soft, certain ground below. All of it present and solid in a way that the circling thoughts are not, and something in the body recognizes this and responds to it. The shoulders easing further, the jaw unclenching in the way it does when the vigilance that has been keeping it tight is no longer quite so necessary. The sound of water has been growing gradually for the last few minutes, and now you can see it. A stream running along the valley floor, catching what little light there is, and giving it back in slow silver movements, and you follow the path alongside it for a while, listening to the particular conversation it is having with the stones in its bed, a sound so continuous and so indifferent to the hour that it has a kind of authority to it, the authority of something that has been doing exactly this through every night that has ever happened in this valley, through all the hard mornings that were once hard nights, through all the people who have come through the dark and found themselves, in the end, still here, still capable, still themselves, and the stream does not know any of that history, and yet it carries it somehow, the way old places carry the weight of everything that has happened in them, without being diminished by it, only deepened. There is something that begins to happen when you have been walking long enough in a place like this, something that cannot be forced or decided but only allowed, which is that the mind begins to trust the body's pace, and the body begins to trust the ground, and the whole long argument between what you can control and what you cannot starts to lose its urgency, not because the answer has been found, but because the question has been set down for a moment, left there on the path behind you to be picked up again when it is needed. And what you are left with in its absence is something you had almost forgotten was available to you, which is simply the experience of being here, in this body, in this valley, in this night, with the water moving, and the trees standing, and the cool air on your skin, and the path ahead opening, step by step, into whatever comes next. And for now, whatever comes next is enough. It is more than enough. It is everything that is required of this particular moment. The valley widens as you walk deeper into it, and the trees thin a little, and you can see the sky again, a vast and unhurried dark scattered with more stars than the lit-up world usually allows you to see. And you stop for a moment and look up at them, those patient and enormous lights, each one so far away that the light reaching your eyes left its source before any of your troubles existed, before any of the names you carry existed, before the particular shape of your life had taken the form it has taken. And there is something in that distance that is not cold, but strangely warm. The warmth of perspective, the warmth of being reminded that you are small in a way that is not diminishing, but releasing, that the world is large enough to hold your difficulty without buckling under it, that it has held greater difficulties than yours and will hold greater difficulties still, and has not yet ceased to be full of streams and stars and the smell of night air and paths through dark valleys that open, in the end, into somewhere worth arriving. And you can feel it already. Ahead of you, though, you cannot see it yet. The place the path has been moving toward all along, the way you sometimes feel a room before you enter it, a warmth and a stillness that reaches back toward you along the path like a welcome, and your pace slows not from tiredness, but from something closer to reverence, the instinct to approach a good thing without rushing it. And the trees close in once more on either side, but gently this time, not darkly. Their presence a companionship rather than a closing. And the stream runs alongside you still, faithful and unhurried. And the stars are there above the canopy in the gaps between the branches. And the air is very still now and very soft. And the path makes one final gentle turn, and then it opens. It is a meadow, wide and bowl-shaped, cradled between the shoulders of two low hills, as though the land itself made a place of shelter here, on purpose. And the grass is long and silver in the starlight, moving in a breath of wind so gentle you can barely call it wind at all. More like the valley breathing, and at the far edge of it, the hills rise dark and solid against the sky, and the sky above them is the deepest blue you have ever seen a sky be, the color that the night saves for its most private hours, the hours before the world begins to stir again. And the stars in it are more than stars. They are a kind of company, steady and unhurried and entirely unbothered by the morning that is coming, as though they have seen every morning that was ever dreaded, and know something about it that you are only beginning to learn. You find a place in the grass near the stream where it widens into a shallow pool, clear and still at the edges and moving softly at the center. And you sit, and the earth receives you the way good earth always does, firmly and without fuss. And the grass is dry and cool against your hands, and the smell of it is the smell of something green and living and entirely itself. And for a long moment you simply sit and let the place be what it is around you, not trying to feel anything in particular, not checking whether you feel better yet, only sitting. The way you might sit beside someone you trust without needing to speak, simply present, simply there, and slowly, in the way that warmth moves through cold hands held near a fire, something begins to ease in you that you did not know until this moment, how tightly it had been held. The difficult thing is still there. You would not insult yourself by pretending otherwise. It will be there in the morning, and you will go to meet it. But right now, it is simply one true thing among many true things, and the other true things are this meadow, and this stream, and this sky, and this particular quality of silence, which is not the absence of sound, but the presence of a deep and settled quiet that has been here far longer than your worry and will be here long after it has become one of the things that happened and passed and turned out to be survivable. And in this moment, those two truths, the hard thing and the quiet, are able to exist in you at the same time without one destroying the other. And that coexistence is itself a kind of answer, though not the kind the mind was looking for, something older and more reliable than that. You lie back into the grass, and the sky opens above you in its full and patient immensity, and you feel, very gently, the loosening of something that has been drawn tight in your chest for longer than this evening, longer perhaps than you realized. The particular tension of someone who has been carrying something carefully for a long time and has not until now found somewhere safe enough to put it down. And the putting down does not mean the thing is gone, only that you are not required to hold it every single moment, that it is permitted to rest somewhere beside you for a while, and you are permitted to rest too. And the permission of it is the most tender thing, that it is allowed, that you are allowed to simply lie here in the grass of this old valley under this enormous sky, and be for a little while only this, a person at rest in the dark before the morning. The stream moves at the edge of the meadow with its quiet and faithful sound, finding its way over the smooth stones of its bed, the way it has always found its way, without hesitation, without the need to know what is further downstream before it is willing to move, simply trusting the direction the land gives it, and following that direction one small movement at a time. And there is something in the sound of it that goes deeper than listening, something that reaches the part of you beneath thought, beneath the rehearsing and the planning and the bracing, the part that is older than all of that and knows, with a knowledge that does not need words, that the morning will come and you will meet it, and something in you will know what to do when the moment arrives to know it. And for now, the moment is this, only this, the stream and the grass and the vast and quiet sky. The stars are turning their slow and imperceptible degrees above you. The same stars that were above this valley last night, and the night before, and the night before that, above every night that has ever held someone lying in the dark with something difficult waiting for them in the morning, and every one of those people found their way through to the day, and the day was what it was, and they were in it with whatever they had, and that was enough. It turned out to be enough, and you will find the same thing to be true of your own morning, in your own way, with your own particular version of the courage that arrives when it is needed. And right now, what is needed is only rest, and the night is giving it to you freely, without condition, simply because you are here and the night is generous, and you have earned the rest you are being given. Your eyes are heavy in the way they become when the body has finally accepted an invitation it has been waiting for. Not the heavy of resistance, but the heavy of arrival, of having come to the right place at the right time and been received there. And the meadow holds you in its long grass, and the stream runs its soft commentary at the edge of things, and the hills stand dark and certain. On either side and above it, all the sky continues its patient and ancient work of simply being there, enormous and unhurried and full of a light so old and so quietly persistent that no amount of human difficulty has ever managed to put it out. Not once, not ever, in all the long history of hard nights and the mornings that followed them. The wind moves through the grass again, that softest of movements, and the stream finds a new note as it passes over a stone. It has been passing over for longer than you have been alive, and somewhere on the hill behind you, something rustles briefly in the undergrowth, and then is still, and the night settles back into itself around these small sounds the way water settles around a stone dropped into it, closing over them gently and returning to its own deep quiet. And you are in that quiet now, held inside it, the thinking mind finally and fully resting, not because the problem has been solved, but because the night has held you long enough and gently enough that the holding itself has become the answer. The rest itself has become the preparation, and you are ready, more ready than you know. And the morning is still hours away, and those hours are yours. And in them, there is nothing required of you but this: to lie in the grass of this old valley under these patient stars and let the night do what nights have always done for those who are willing to be held by them. The stream moves, and the stars turn, and the grass breathes its slow silver breath, and the hills keep their ancient watch, and the dark is full and soft and entirely without threat. And somewhere on the other side of it, the morning is gathering itself quietly, the way mornings do, without urgency, without drama, simply becoming, as it always becomes, the next true thing after the dark, and you will be there for it, rested and steadier than you feel right now, carrying in your body the memory of this meadow and this quiet and the simple and profound discovery that the night before something hard is also, when you find the right place to spend it, one of the most peaceful nights there is, because there is nothing left to do in it but rest, and you are resting. You are finally and fully resting, and the dark is kind, and the ground is sure, and the stars are keeping their long, faithful watch above everything below them, which is sleeping now, which is still, which is held, which is at peace. Sleep well. The morning will come when it comes, and you will be ready for it, and you will not be alone in it. And for now, the night is long and soft and entirely yours. Rest inside it. The dusk is with you until the dawn.